Chosen one, stop scrolling. This is not just another message, it is a divine interruption. The Spirit of God has drawn you here because something prophetic is about to explode in the spirit realm on the 1st of August. And you, yes, you are not meant to miss it. There are dates in the natural calendar, and then there are days that heaven itself highlights. The 1st of August is one of them. You can feel it. You can sense it. Even if you can't explain it, there's a fire stirring inside you. The atmosphere is heavy with divine preparation. You were born for this moment. You've carried burdens no one saw, fought battles no one applauded, and endured seasons that felt endless. But now the winds are shifting. The warfare was never about your past. It was about your future. And that future is pressing against the veil, ready to break through. Chosen one, you were never called to blend in. You were never meant to follow the crowd. You are a disruptor, a forerunner, a torchbearer. And while others are sleeping, heaven is calling you to rise. The Spirit of God is positioning you for a moment of divine glory, a release that will redefine your life. We read in the book of Haggai, chapter 2, verse 9, "The glory of this present house will be greater than the glory of the former house, says the Lord Almighty." This is not a return to what was. This is a transition into what has never been. What's coming is greater than anything you've lost, more radiant than anything you've grieved. The next glory will outshine every previous season. Your name has been whispered in heavenly places. The gates are beginning to tremble. The countdown has already begun, and the question is not whether the door will open, but whether you will be ready to walk through it. This is why the distractions have multiplied. This is why temptation has intensified. The enemy always attacks the threshold. He knows what you are about to step into. He's terrified of your obedience, your voice, your light. Because your alignment will unlock more than just your breakthrough. It will trigger freedom for others. You cannot afford to be numb in this hour. You cannot afford to procrastinate. You cannot afford to delay what heaven is urgently stirring in your spirit. And hear this clearly. God is not sending you this word to excite you, but to prepare you. Start now. Clear the noise. Clean your atmosphere. Return to the secret place. Fast. Pray. Worship. Forgive. Let go of what God never called you to carry. Because when the clock strikes midnight on the 1st of August, something in the realm of the Spirit will erupt, and only the aligned will be able to receive it. You are not late. You are not disqualified. You are not forgotten. You are marked. You are assigned. You are chosen. Don't keep this to yourself. The trumpet has sounded, and it's echoing across the earth. Share this message with someone who needs to remember who they are. Someone who's been weary. Someone who's been attacked. Someone who's forgotten they carry the fire of heaven within them. If this word is confirming what you've been sensing, don't stay silent. Comment 888 below. This is the number of new beginnings, resurrection, and divine realignment. When you type 888, you're not just posting, you're prophetically declaring, I am ready. I agree. I step into what's coming. And if you haven't already, subscribe. Not for numbers, not for vanity, but because what's coming in the next few days will carry prophetic weight, direction, and fire. This space will be a prophetic well, and you'll need every drop of it. The shaking you've endured is not the end. It's the beginning of something greater. Your glory days are not behind you, they're knocking on your door. Prepare. Chosen one. The glory that's coming is about to explode into your reality. So, prepare. Prepare with urgency. Prepare with reverence. This is not a season for casual faith or shallow devotion. The heavens are scanning the earth not for the loudest voice, but for the most surrendered heart. Let yours be one of them. Let the fire of expectation rise within you like never before. Sing even when it's quiet. Pray even when it hurts. Stand even when you're tired. Because the ones who endure these final hours before the shift will be the ones who carry the evidence of it. The 1st of August is not coming for everyone. It's coming for the awakened. You are not watching history. You are becoming it. You were born for this hour. You did not stumble into this season. Long before your eyes opened to this world, long before your name was spoken on earth, it was already written in the scrolls of heaven, not merely as a name, but as a purpose, a divine assignment, a vessel marked by eternity. There has always been something different about you. Even in the moments when you tried to disappear, tried to silence your fire, tried to be like everyone else, there was a tension you couldn't shake. That tension was never rejection. It was revelation. The revelation that you were never meant to blend in. You were born to break through. The shaking you've endured wasn't to destroy you. It was to expose the weight of your calling. Others gave up in storms. You survived. Others collapsed under pressure that trained you. Others doubted while you clung to invisible promises. That's the sign. That's how heaven marks its chosen ones. By how they rise again and again when there's no applause, no crowd, and no guarantee. You are not here by chance. The restlessness in your soul is divine. It's not burnout, it's birthing. Your spirit is sensing what your mind can't comprehend yet. Because the hour is late, the heavens are shifting, and what was hidden in you is about to be revealed through you. This is why the battles have intensified, why the warfare hit where it hurt most. Your identity, your voice, your worth. The enemy doesn't waste weapons on the average. He reserves his fiercest resistance for those who are most dangerous to darkness. And that means you. Your light is not passive. It is a weapon. Your presence alone threatens systems of bondage. You didn't earn this calling, but you were entrusted with it. As spoken in the book of Romans, chapter 8, verse 18, the sufferings of this present time are not worthy to be compared with the glory which shall be revealed in us. And that's exactly what's about to happen. The glory in you is about to be revealed through you. The pain was never the end of the story, it was the preparation. The tears you cried watered the ground for what's now about to spring forth. The nights you thought were wasted were actually the cocoon of your next transformation. You may feel like you're still in process, but God has already stamped you with approval. Not because you're flawless, but because you're faithful, and faithfulness always precedes the outpouring. Heaven is ready to move, but it's looking for agreement, not public agreement. Private alignment, the kind that says yes when no one is watching, the kind that burns away pride, resentment, fear, and doubt, the kind that empties you of everything you thought you needed, so God can fill you with what you were truly born for. There is glory on the other side of this, yes. You will be stretched, you will be challenged, you will be misunderstood, but you will also be anointed, empowered, and sent. You will carry fire in your bones, and revelation in your mouth. Because when the Spirit falls, it doesn't fall for display, it falls for deployment. This is not about being seen. This is about being sent into dark places with unshakable light, sent into broken systems with unexplainable peace, sent into conversations with supernatural discernment, sent into dry valleys with resurrection breath. You are that one, that surrendered heart, that chosen vessel, that hidden arrow now being pulled back and aimed toward divine release. The world is not waiting for another trend. The world is groaning for the revealing of sons and daughters, those who carry the kingdom, not in title, but in truth. And you, chosen one, are being revealed. So walk into this moment, not with fear, not with pride, but with the quiet fire of someone who knows they were born for such a time as this. So take inventory of what still weighs you down. Lay it at his feet. The bitterness, the fear, the self-doubt. None of it can cross into what's coming. There is no space for old chains in a season of fresh glory. This next move will not wait for your comfort zone to catch up. Heaven is urgent, and the Spirit is moving with fire and precision. You are not being invited into a moment, you are being summoned into a mantle, and it's not one you can fake, mimic, or borrow. It must be worn with surrender, because what's about to be revealed in you will silence every lie that said you weren't enough. You didn't imagine it. You weren't being dramatic. Every storm, every silence, every shadowed season, it all meant something. What you've endured recently wasn't ordinary warfare. It was prophetic pressure, a signal in the spirit realm that something massive was on its way to you. And now, the resistance you've faced confirms what the enemy already knows. You're close. Heaven does not shake the earth without cause. And you, chosen one, have been in the center of a shaking that many around you couldn't understand. You tried to explain it. You tried to suppress it. You even questioned your own discernment. But listen, what you've been fighting isn't confusion. It's confirmation. That constant opposition, it was never about what you had, it was about what you're about to walk into. Every sleepless night, every closed door, every relationship that suddenly shifted, every opportunity that slipped through your hands, all of it was God's mercy in disguise, clearing the path, removing what couldn't carry the weight of your next mantle. What felt like a loss was actually a divine filter, because glory cannot mix with compromise. Chosen one, you are not cursed. You are carrying oil, carrying fire, carrying answers to problems others can't even perceive. You were always meant to disturb the comfortable. That's why you couldn't stay where others settled. That's why you had to go through pain that didn't make sense. Because God was cultivating depth in you, not surface gifting, not empty performance, but weighty, tested, undeniable glory. And that glory, what heaven has tucked away in your spirit, is about to disrupt everything around you. There's a reason God didn't let you give up. You were one, yes, away from breakthrough. One surrender away from strategy. One silent prayer away from shifting atmospheres. You've been praying for clarity, for timing, for answers. And heaven is responding not with information, but with activation. Because this isn't about hearing another word. This is about becoming it. The trials were never meant to break you. They were meant to build you into a vessel that darkness fears. And you have become just that, whether you realize it or not. You've been clothed in authority. The kind that doesn't come from platforms or followers but from pain, endurance, and deep, private obedience. And now the Spirit of God is saying, step forward, step fully in. No more shrinking, no more second guessing, no more spiritual limbo. There's a mantle hovering over you, waiting to descend. But mantles don't fall on the passive. They rest on those who move when the Spirit says move, who stand when others bow, who obey when it doesn't make sense, who burn even when no one is watching. As written in the second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 4, verse 17, for our light and momentary troubles are achieving for us an eternal glory that far outweighs them all. No, this is not a season for silence. It's a moment of bold surrender. The pain didn't disqualify you, it qualified you. Every crack in your heart made room for greater oil. Every tear became proof that your roots go deep. And now God is calling you out of hiding. So declare it now. Comment, tried, but chosen. That statement holds weight in the spirit realm. It speaks for every moment you were overlooked, every time you were doubted, every battle that bruised you. Tried, but chosen tells the enemy that his tests failed to take you out, and now you're stepping into the fire refined, not broken. You didn't just survive the trial. You came out chosen from it. Do not minimize your endurance. God saw every moment you stayed when you could have walked, every time you prayed with tears in your throat, every act of obedience that cost you comfort. And now He's breathing on it. Heaven is not calling you to recover what was lost. It's calling you to rise into what was reserved. That's what this season is. A divine unveiling, not of a version of you polished by people, but one forged in the furnace of divine process. You are becoming dangerous to the kingdom of darkness, and that's why the warfare has escalated. But here's the good news. It's proof you've already shifted dimensions. The enemy only roars when he knows he can't stop what's been set in motion. His resistance is not a block. It's an indicator that what you carry is already breaking through. Chosen one. You didn't come this far to collapse now. Heaven didn't invest this much in you just to have you settle for half the story. You've come too far, sacrificed too much, been purified too deeply, and now you're on the verge of becoming the very answer you've been praying for. There is something sacred about what you've endured, something few will ever understand. Because what looked like delay was actually divine design. What felt like abandonment was God pulling you into deeper dependence. You were not being punished. You were being preserved. In a world obsessed with speed, heaven still chooses to work through process. And you, chosen one, have been walking through one of the most intense refining seasons of your life. A season that stripped away distractions, exposed hidden wounds, silenced false voices, and reduced you to nothing but the root of who you truly are. It hurt, didn't it? Not because you were weak, but because the hand of God was heavy, not to crush you, but to press out everything that couldn't follow you into the next. The pressing has purpose. The weight you felt wasn't random. It was the pressure of glory forming inside you. You see, there are two kinds of people in this world, those who run from fire and those who are forged in it. You are the second kind, the kind that doesn't quit when the silence gets heavy, the kind that doesn't curse God when doors shut, the kind that doesn't trade conviction for convenience. You're still here, still standing, still expectant. And whether you realize it or not, you've been passing the tests no one else saw. You've said yes when no one was watching. You've chosen humility when pride was easier. You've walked away from counterfeit opportunities that could have made you comfortable but would have cost you your consecration. Because deep down, you knew this wasn't just about surviving. You knew this was about becoming, about stepping into something eternal, something weighty, something that can't be shaken by applause or erased by rejection. You're not being positioned for a platform. You're being prepared for a mantle. There's a difference. A platform elevates the person. A mantle releases the assignment. And mantles do not fall on casual hearts. They fall on laid-down lives. On those who have been emptied of self, so they can carry what no flesh can touch. That's what this season has been about. And yes, it's felt like isolation, like exile, like silence so loud it rattled your bones. But chosen one, the wilderness is where God does his deepest work. He didn't abandon you. He hid you. Because what he was cultivating in you couldn't grow under artificial lights. The wilderness was your womb. It's where you stopped performing and started transforming, where you stopped talking and started listening, where you stopped asking, "When will it happen?" and began declaring, "Even if it doesn't, I'm not turning back." That's the moment everything changed. Not outside, but inside. Because God doesn't raise warriors by giving them easy wins. He raises them in obscurity, in contradiction, in mystery. That's where the real strength forms, not the kind that shouts loudly, but the kind that stands quietly when storms scream. You've become someone darkness fears, not because you quote scripture, but because you've lived it. Not because you look the part, but because you bear the scars of obedience. Not because of charisma, but because of consistency in the crushing. As we read in the book of James, chapter 1, verse 12, "Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because, having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised to those who love him." Want it. And now heaven is about to reveal what it's been forming. There is no sudden explosion of glory that wasn't first preceded by seasons of hidden obedience. What you're carrying didn't happen overnight. It was forged in layers, through loss, through waiting, through discipline, through secret place encounters that rewired how you think and what you value. You don't speak the way you used to. You don't crave what you used to. You don't chase what used to tempt you. That's evidence. You've been changing quietly, slowly, deeply. And while others may not see the difference yet, Heldus. And that's why the warfare has been relentless. Because spirits of darkness can sense what's rising in the spirit of a surrendered one, and they tremble. Chosen one. The Lord has not overlooked you. He's been watching closely, weighing your heart, testing your motives, pruning your desires. And he's found a vessel he can trust. He didn't let you quit because he planned to use you. He didn't let you drift away because you carry a piece of his heart that this generation needs. You are not just part of the plan. You are a living strategy, a walking answer, a vessel of interruption to systems of complacency and compromise. Let this settle deep in your soul. You have not been delayed. You've been developed. And when the door opens, and it will, you won't have to force it, fake it, or strive for it. You'll simply walk in, and the room will shift. Because glory always announces itself. And when you've been with God in the secret place, it shows even in silence. Your voice matters more than you know. There are moments in history where heaven leans close to the earth, moments when the sound of obedience echoes louder than the noise of culture. This is one of those moments, and your voice has weight in it. You've been quiet long enough, silent long enough, misunderstood, overlooked, minimized. But all of that ends now, because you were never created to be an echo. You were crafted to be a sound that carries the fragrance of the throne room, a sound that announces to darkness that light still speaks. You are not voiceless. You are a trumpet, and this is your hour to blow the trumpet loud. It is written in the book of Isaiah, chapter 58, verse 1, shout it aloud. Do not hold back. Raise your voice like a trumpet. Now, every time you speak what God has put inside you, chains break, not just for you, but for others connected to your assignment. When you declare the word, you don't just repeat truth, you ignite it. When you share what you carry, it becomes fuel for someone else's fire. That's why your silence has been under attack. That's why doubt has whispered, "Don't say anything." That's why insecurity tried to shrink you. Because the enemy knows if you ever start speaking, things will start shifting. So here it is. Speak, post, share, write, testify, worship, declare, create. Let your sound be released. And yes, this applies even to sharing this very word. Because every time you like, share, or send this message to someone, you become part of the trumpet. You extend the reach of the sound. You multiply impact. You tell the enemy, not only am I free, I'm helping others get free too. Let your obedience ripple into timelines and inboxes. Let heaven use your action to collide with someone else's desperation. And if this message is confirming what your spirit already knows, don't scroll past like it's just another post. That tug in your chest, that stirring, that's not emotion, it's activation. Like this message, share it. Send it to someone burning quietly who needs confirmation. Don't underestimate what one click of obedience can do in the spirit. God can ride on digital waves just as powerfully as he did with Moses' staff or David's sling. And if you've been finding life, alignment, or prophetic clarity through these words regularly, consider subscribing. Not for numbers, but because we're building something, a remnant, a global altar of surrendered voices. This isn't a brand. It's a movement of marked ones. We're not just feeding the hungry. We are raising warriors. We're not just teaching truth. We're awakening purpose. We're not just delivering messages. We're disrupting hell. And if God is moving on your heart to go deeper, to not only receive, but to sow, do it. Not from pressure, but from revelation. There's a difference between paying for content and partnering with a mantle. When you sow into what is feeding you spiritually, you're not losing, you're aligning. You're saying, this word doesn't just bless me, it builds me. So I will build back into it. And so yes, consider giving. Not because you're buying a blessing, but because this well you've been drinking from is worth digging deeper. It's worth helping sustain. That's kingdom thinking. That's prophetic maturity. Because in this hour, generosity is part of the sound. Obedience is part of the sound. Faith is part of the sound. You are not just a receiver. You are a releaser. And the world needs what you carry. That voice, that fire, that yes. Hey, It's time to stop hiding in the background of revival. It's time to stand in the center of your calling. When God pours out His Spirit, He doesn't ask how many followers you have. He looks for surrendered hearts. He looks for voices that won't flinch when truth is unpopular. He looks for ones who can't be bought or silenced. Ones who carry both love and fire. That's you. You're not here by chance. You've been drawn into this message because heaven is activating the trumpet inside of you. So let this be your commissioning. Let this be the moment you go from consuming to carrying, from silence to sound, from hidden to herald. You are not meant to watch the move of God pass by. You are meant to be the move. And if you've been wondering whether your voice matters in this generation, let this answer settle it for you once and for all. Yes, it does. More than you know. So, don't hold back. Don't hesitate. The world is loud right now, but your sound carries heaven. Make it heard. There is something stirring in the unseen, a vibration in the spirit realm that only the surrendered can feel. It doesn't show up in headlines. It won't be posted in trending topics. But those who walk closely with God can sense it. A prophetic shift is approaching, and everything in your spirit is leaning forward. The atmosphere is swelling with something holy. It's as if heaven has exhaled, and now the earth is inhaling, preparing to respond. And while others are distracted by noise, you are hearing the whisper, the invitation, the call to stand alert, because what's coming requires more than casual faith. This is not about hype. This is about holy readiness. You've likely felt the tension, like your spirit is sprinting ahead of your reality. You can't explain the weight in your chest, the restlessness in your soul, or the hunger in your prayers. But it's real. It's not emotion, it's alignment. God is positioning you, stretching you, separating you, because you are about to step into a divine gate, and nothing unstable can walk through it. The things you used to enjoy now feel empty. The circles you once ran in no longer fit. The rhythms that once felt comfortable now feel suffocating. This is not depression. This is not confusion. This is transition. Heaven is saying, come out from among them and be separate. End of trait. He's not calling you higher to humiliate you, but to anoint you. And before glory comes, there must be order. That's why the shaking has been personal. That's why the pruning has been silent. That's why the old wells have dried up. Because God is preparing a new outpouring, and only clean hands and pure hearts will hold it. As written in the book of Revelation, chapter 3, verse 20, Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come in. The door is not just opening. The door himself is knocking. And that knock is not general, it is specific. To you, to this moment. And your response will determine whether this becomes another missed cycle or the birthing of your true calling. Chosen one. This is not a gentle season. It is a decisive one. The lines are being drawn. The wheat is being separated from the chaff. The sleeping are slipping further into deception. But those who are awake, they're being summoned. So respond. Not later. Not when it feels more convenient. Now, comment 555 below. Why 555? Because it is a prophetic number representing divine grace for transition, open doors, and the hand of God moving swiftly in your favor. When you type 555, it is more than digits. It is declaration. It is the sound of your spirit saying, I hear the knock. I open the door. I step forward. Not, you're not doing it for me. You're not doing it to follow the crowd. You're doing it because something deep in your bones knows this word is for you. Let your fingers prophesy. Let your comment be a memorial stone in the spirit. Mark this day as the day you stepped into agreement, because this moment is not just about personal breakthrough, it's about heavenly transaction, the kind that alters your momentum, sharpens your focus, and pulls you out of the fog. This is not just your yes to a word, it's your exit from the old season. You are not just entering a new chapter, you're entering a new era. Everything around you may still look the same, but everything inside you is about to shift. The pressure has been a signal. The silence was training. The delay was set up. And now, you are arriving into what God prepared for you before you ever breathed your first breath. You were never created to remain in cycles. You were born to break them. You were never assigned to wander in confusion. You were born to walk in clarity. You were never called to settle in delay. You were born to move in acceleration. But all of this hinges on alignment. And alignment is not emotion, it's decision. Not tears, it's obedience. Not hype, it's hunger. The kind of hunger that says, God, whatever you're doing, don't do it without me. So posture your heart now. Purify your motives. Clear your atmosphere. Guard your gates. The King is near, and he's not just passing by. He's stopping. He's knocking. And he's waiting for your response. Comment 555 and declare to heaven, I won't miss the door. You've been asking why the pressure hasn't lifted, why the breakthrough hasn't come as quickly as you hoped, why the same fire that once stirred your passion now seems to burn everything around you. But what you've called delay is not denial. What feels like heaviness is not punishment, it's the proof of preparation. You are not being tested to be broken, you are being trusted to be built. God does not forge world changers in ease. He forges them in fire. And the deeper the fire, the heavier the glory. You've asked for glory. But glory doesn't come without cost. It doesn't rest on the convenient. It falls on the consecrated. That's what he's been doing, consecrating you. Set apart. Stripped down. Sanctified not by ceremony, but by circumstance. The things you thought were random, those long nights, that unexplained grief, the repeated pruning, none of it was accidental. You were being prepared for something weightier than what you asked for, because God knew what he placed in you. He knew the capacity you didn't even see in yourself. Chosen one. It's time to see this season not as resistance, but as refinement. This is not the enemy winning. This is the refiner's fire working. You haven't been overlooked. You've been overseen, watched carefully by the one who knows exactly how much pressure is required to shape the vessel without shattering it. You've cried in secret. You've smiled through pain. You've endured spiritual fatigue while still pressing in. And though it's been long and exhausting, heaven is still watching. The silence isn't absence. It's strategy, and you've made it further than you think. You're not stuck. You're still standing. That alone is victory, because what you're carrying is not ordinary. It's not casual. It's not lightweight. God isn't preparing you for a moment. He's preparing you to carry a move, one that shifts rooms, awakens cities, and breaks chains. Others have normalized, and for that kind of assignment, you don't just need a sharp sword, You need a healed heart. That's what he's been mending. Quietly, patiently, deliberately. You didn't need a bigger stage. You needed deeper roots. And the season of invisibility you've walked through wasn't rejection, it was protection. Heaven was keeping you from being seen prematurely, because premature exposure always leads to collapse. You were not meant to impress. You were meant to impact. And impact requires integrity under pressure. You've walked through things that would have caused others to crumble. But here you are, still clinging to truth. Still whispering his name in the dark. Still daring to hope. That's the kind of faith that moves mountains. Not loud faith. Not famous faith. But faith that bleeds and doesn't back down. As recorded in the first letter of Peter, chapter 1, verse 7. These trials will show that your faith is genuine. It is being tested as fire tests and purifies gold, though your faith is far more precious than mere gold. And God never wastes a refining season. He doesn't prune without a purpose. And he doesn't allow trials without preparing a platform for testimony. Your life is not random. It's being written prophetically, line by line, scar by scar, miracle by miracle. You are not who you were last year, not even who you were last month. The fire has changed you. The shaking has realigned you. The waiting has matured you. You may feel tired, but the truth is, you're more ready than you've ever been. And what you're about to step into will make sense of what you walked through. Every battle trained your hands for war. Every silence taught your heart to listen. Every disappointment deepened your dependence. God doesn't anoint people at random. He anoints those who've been emptied of self and full of surrender. And that's you. No, you're not perfect, but you are willing. And God can do more with a willing spirit than with a polished performance. So stand firm. Let your posture be praise. Let your stillness speak faith. You don't need to force anything. You don't need to rush what heaven has already aligned. You simply need to stay surrendered. The light is coming. The shift is near. And you are almost through. The world may not understand what you've carried, but heaven has watched every step. You've been forged for this. So don't doubt what's already been confirmed in the Spirit. You didn't survive all of that to shrink now. The fire wasn't meant to end you, it was meant to reveal you. And soon, the evidence of your endurance will speak louder than any explanation. There is a kind of strength the world doesn't celebrate. A quiet, immovable strength, the kind that doesn't announce itself with noise, but holds the line in silence. The kind that doesn't beg to be seen, but remains unshaken when everything familiar is stripped away. That's the strength heaven has been building in you. It's not flashy. It's not always visible, but it is deeply spiritual. A holy resilience that can't be faked. It's what you carry now, even if you don't fully realize it. And it's the reason the enemy can't get to you the way he used to. You've been trained in obscurity, and it's in that obscurity that your roots have gone deeper than most people will ever see. This is why you couldn't quit. Why every time you tried to pull away from your purpose, something divine kept pulling you back. Not obligation, not guilt, but the invisible hand of the Father, refusing to let you fade into the background of your own calling, because he never stopped seeing you. Even when others forgot your name, even when your efforts were dismissed, even when your voice seemed to echo into empty spaces, even when you questioned your own value, heaven never did. The anointing didn't lift. The calling didn't shift. The vision didn't It simply went deeper. You've been in a season of holy contradiction. On the outside, it looked like nothing was happening, but internally, God was stretching your capacity, rebuilding your identity, and recalibrating your discernment. While others were being elevated publicly, you were being excavated privately. And though it was painful, you'll soon understand why it had to be this way. The next move of God in your life isn't coming to entertain. It's coming to establish who you really are in the Spirit. Establish the weight of your words. Establish the clarity of your assignment. Because the world doesn't need another imitator. It needs someone who's been refined enough to release a real sound, and that sound is about to rise through you. But before God releases a voice, He always checks the vessel, not to condemn it, but to cleanse it. That's why you've felt exposed at times, not in shame, but in sanctification. When you asked for more of Him, you didn't realize what it would cost. You didn't realize how much of yourself would have to die, but it's been worth it. Every surrendered moment, every time you said no to what your flesh wanted, every hour you spent in hidden prayer, every seed sown in silence, none of it was wasted. You weren't being buried. You were being rooted, as found in the book of Galatians, chapter 6, verse 9. Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. You've been doing good, quietly, faithfully, with no applause and no spotlight. And heaven has been keeping record, not just of what you've done, but of what you've endured. That endurance has become oil. That silence has become strategy. That hidden obedience has become a weapon. Soon, what has been growing in the dark will bear fruit in the light, not for your glory, but so others can taste and see that the Lord is good through your life. Your words, your decisions, your presence. What's on you is not for show, it's for impact. And impact doesn't always shout. Sometimes it walks quietly into a room and shifts the atmosphere without saying a word. That's what you've been formed for. Not reaction, but response. Not hype, but holiness. Not approval, but authority. And those who carry true authority often carry it with scars, because they've walked through valleys that taught them what books never could. You are one of those, scarred, but standing, weathered, but unwavering. You've seen enough to walk away, yet you remain anchored. That's not weakness, that's worship. And heaven honors that posture more than platform. God didn't call you because you had it all figured out. He called you because He saw that, even when it was hard, you kept showing up. You kept praying. You kept repenting. You kept worshiping. You kept seeking truth, even when lies were louder. That matters. So keep walking. Keep obeying. Keep becoming. The glory is coming. But more importantly, you're being prepared to carry it well. There comes a moment when the quiet process must give way to prophetic expression. A moment when what's been forged in secret begins to radiate in the open, not for applause, but because it can no longer be contained. Chosen one. You are standing in that moment now. You may not feel different. Nothing in your environment may have shifted, but in the Spirit, something has already cracked open. The pressure you've been under wasn't just for your transformation, it was for your release. Because when heaven gets ready to send a sound into the earth, it first sends it through a surrendered vessel. And that vessel is you. There's something in your voice that the world needs. Not your tone, not your talent, but the weight behind your words because they've been shaped in fire. You don't speak from theory. You speak from testimony. And that is what cuts through darkness. You've been through too much to stay silent now. There's too much on the line. This generation doesn't need another opinion. It needs a voice that's been with God in the secret place and still dares to speak. This is why your silence was under attack. Why you felt muted in past seasons. Why you held back when you knew you carried something sacred. The enemy knew that if you ever found your voice again, chains would break. Not just around you, but through you. It's not pride to speak what heaven has placed inside you. It's obedience. You don't need permission. God already gave you access. You don't need validation. The fire in your bones is your confirmation. So speak, create, declare, move, pray, write, worship, prophesy. Let what's inside you finally breathe. And know this, when you open your mouth in obedience, all of heaven backs your sound. This is what the enemy fears, not your volume, but your alignment. Because sound birthed from brokenness carries power. Words spoken from consecration carry weight. And obedience spoken at the right time carries heaven's authority. That's what's rising in you now, not just a gift but a mantle. A mantle to speak when others are afraid. A mantle to pierce confusion with clarity. A mantle to disrupt the norm with presence. And even if no one claps, even if no one shares your voice, the throne room knows your sound. Because it didn't originate here, it was stirred in eternity and carried into the earth through your yielded life. As written in the book of Jeremiah, chapter 20, verse 9, His word is in my heart like a fire shut up in my bones. I am weary of holding it in. Indeed, I cannot. That fire is what's burning in you now. Not performance, not ambition, but an uncontainable flame lit by God Himself. And you cannot hold it back anymore. You've been silent long enough. You've second-guessed long enough. The dam is breaking. The fire is spreading. And you are being positioned to speak with clarity, boldness, and compassion. There will be moments ahead when God puts His finger on your heart and says, now. In those moments, don't shrink, don't doubt, don't look around for someone else. Just say yes and open your mouth, because what you release won't just stir, it will shift. What you carry isn't commentary. It's kingdom. It doesn't echo the trends of culture. It reveals the heartbeat of heaven. And heaven is ready to speak through you. So, let this moment be your declaration. Let it be your agreement. Let it be your spiritual landmark, the place where you said, I won't hold it back anymore. Now, comment, I must speak. Not for me, not for followers, not for platform, but because something in your spirit is roaring now, and agreement in the spirit always requires expression in the natural. I must speak means you're done shrinking. It means the fire has outgrown the fear. It means heaven has found a vessel who won't trade truth for comfort. You don't need to shout. You don't need to prove anything. Just let it flow. Just stay surrendered. Just trust that what God put in you will not return void. And when you speak, chains will fall. Not because you're perfect, but because your obedience is pure. Let the silence break. Let the fire out. Let the sound be released. The earth is groaning for voices of glory, not noise, not echo, but those whose sound comes from the throne room. Chosen one, you are that voice, you are that sound, and now it's time to release it. What you're carrying isn't ordinary, and it's not just for you. The fire God has lit in you wasn't meant to stay hidden inside the four walls of your prayer life. It's meant to spread, to multiply, to ignite others. And if you've been feeling that tension between staying quiet and stepping out, it's because heaven is gently pushing you to become more than just a receiver. You're being called to be a releaser. Your process wasn't pointless. Your silence wasn't wasted. Your pain wasn't for nothing. It was preparation for a divine ripple effect. And now, what God has done in you must begin to move through you. You are being positioned not just to testify, but to transfer. The boldness He has given you, the discernment you've developed, the endurance you've learned through trial, all of it is kingdom capital, meant to be sown into others. And every time you share, speak, encourage, or even repost something that carries the breath of God, you become a vessel of that multiplication. This is why the enemy wanted to isolate you. He wanted to convince you your story was too messy, your voice too shaky, your journey too broken. Because if you ever realized the power of your witness, you'd become unstoppable. But heaven knows. Heaven sees how far you've come. And now it's time to let the oil you carry flow. Not recklessly, not for applause, but strategically, in alignment with the Spirit's leading. And if fear tries to rise and hold you back, remember this. As written in the book of Proverbs, chapter 28, verse 1, the righteous are as bold as a lion. This is your permission to roar, to break the silence, to shake the ground beneath passivity with your obedience. You never know who needs the exact word that once kept you alive. Every time you click share, comment, or send a word forward, it's not just internet activity, it's spiritual obedience. You're saying, "This fed me. It might save someone else." So don't hold back. Let God use your influence, your reach, no matter how small, to shake something loose in someone else. This is how movements begin, through small, consistent obedience, through voices that refuse to be silent, through people who value the glory more than the algorithm. If this message has stirred something in you, something real, something raw like it, not just as an action, but as an agreement, share it. Not just as a gesture, but as an act of warfare. Subscribe, not out of curiosity, but because you recognize the sound of your tribe and you want to stay connected to what God is speaking. This is a house for the hungry, a place for the chosen, and a trumpet to the remnant. And if you've been growing here, if you've been consistently strengthened by these words, I want you to pray about partnering, not because God needs money, but because there's a spiritual transaction that happens when we sow into what feeds us. When you give, you're saying, "This word didn't just touch me, it's transforming me. I want others to experience the same oil." Oh, it's not about pressure. It's about principle. Elijah couldn't keep pouring unless the widow made room. And ministry can't keep flowing unless someone helps lift the arms that are carrying the weight. So if God prompts you, obey Him. Whether it's a one-time gift or consistent support, you're not just giving, you're becoming a co-laborer in something eternal. This isn't a brand, it's a battle station. We're not here to go viral. We're here to set fires, to wake sleepers, to rebuild altars, And what we're building can't be done alone. But make no mistake, whether you give, like, comment, or simply keep coming back, you are part of this. You're not a spectator. You are one of the marked, one of the burning ones, one of the voices God is raising in this hour to cut through the fog of fear and compromise. You shine when you obey. You shine when you encourage. You shine when you share truth. You shine when you refuse to blend in and choose to burn instead. The darkness isn't afraid of loud voices, it's afraid of lit ones. And you, chosen one, are carrying a flame that's been burning for years. Now it's time to raise it higher. Let the light rise. Let the sound rise. Let the remnant rise. You're not watching a move of God, you are part of it. This moment right now, it's not routine. It's not just another message. It's a holy call to move in rhythm with the sound of heaven. And your simple act of agreement, whether through a share, a gift, or a whispered prayer, has more weight in the spirit than you know. So, take your place. Take your flame. Take your mantle. And let's keep building together. There is a holy stillness that follows divine instruction. Not silence from heaven, but peace in the storm. When you know you've obeyed God, even if nothing changes immediately, something settles deep in your spirit. A knowing, a rootedness, a quiet authority that says, I did what he asked, and that's enough for now. No, you may not see the harvest yet, but obedience is always a seed. And while others chase signs, you've chosen to trust the signal, that whisper, that stirring, that prompting no one else could hear. It wasn't loud, it wasn't public, but it was real. And that's what God responds to, obedience in obscurity. This is where so many turn back. When nothing happens right away, when the atmosphere feels the same, when the breakthrough doesn't shout. But those who understand the nature of God know this. Some miracles don't explode, they unfold, like the turning of a tide, like the slow burn of dawn, like the roots growing beneath dry soil. Just because it's quiet doesn't mean it's still. Just because it's invisible doesn't mean it's ineffective. The Spirit is moving, even now. And when you walk in alignment, you're walking in momentum. Even if your feet don't feel it yet, you're not behind. You're not delayed. You're exactly where you need to be for a God who lives outside of time. You are not late. You are perfectly placed. But that's hard to remember, in the in-between, in the moments after you've obeyed, but before anything shifts. That's the wilderness between yes and fulfillment, and only the anchored survive it. As found in the book of Lamentations, chapter 3, verse 26, it is good to wait quietly for the salvation of the Lord. And that kind of quiet isn't weakness, it's warfare. It says, I'm not reacting, I'm remaining. And in that posture, your spirit becomes sensitive to the subtle wind of the Spirit that others miss in the noise. This is where faith gets refined, not in the high of revelation, but in the holding pattern of trust. When you've sown the word, spoken the prayer, forgiven the one who hurt you, and done what God told you, and still, there's no applause, no confirmation, just stillness. But stillness is not absence, it's preparation. Heaven moves in rhythm with your obedience, not your emotions. And if you've followed the instructions, even trembling, then heaven is already responding, whether you see it or not. That's why you feel the tension, not because something's wrong, but because something is building. Every step of obedience has been stacking. Every silent yes has been shifting something unseen. And soon, you'll look up and realize you've walked into the middle of what you once only dreamed about. You won't be able to explain exactly how it happened, because it wasn't a moment. It was a movement, one that began with small steps, small seeds, and private surrender. But now, the air is getting heavier with glory. The signs are starting to whisper. The spiritual wind is beginning to shift. And deep down, you know, something is about to break open. Not because you forced it, not because you earned it, but because you endured long enough to see it. The waiting wasn't punishment. It was positioning. You didn't miss your moment. You've been becoming the moment. This is why the warfare intensified in recent days. Not because you were off track, but because you were closer than ever. The enemy always attacks right before alignment turns into arrival, and he was hoping you would quit in the stillness. He was hoping you would walk away in the silence, that you would confuse, quiet with disapproval. But you've matured past that now. You know how God works. And you've learned that sometimes He speaks loudest in His quietest seasons. The Spirit doesn't shout to be heard. He whispers to the ones who lean in. And you, chosen one, have been leaning in when others were tuning out. You've remained when others wandered. You've pressed deeper when others gave up. And that kind of posture doesn't go unnoticed in heaven. God has been watching the way you've waited. Not just that you waited, but how you waited. In trust, in surrender, in prayer, in humility. That posture is why the next season won't crush you, because He's tested your weight. You can carry what's coming. So, breathe, stand, stay rooted. You're closer than you think. And when the shift comes, it will come swiftly. Doors will open without force. Answers will arrive without striving. And you'll know it was worth every quiet moment of trust. There are moments when heaven waits for your response. Not because God is uncertain, but because your agreement is the final unlocking. You've been walking through a season that feels like tension, delay, even silence. But what if it's none of those things? What if it's divine suspense, the moment before the curtain lifts? The stillness before the thunder. You haven't missed it. You haven't failed. You are standing at the exact intersection of prophecy and obedience. And the tension you feel, that's not warfare trying to stop you, that's prophetic pressure, ready to release you. You've been sensing it, haven't you? Like something is building behind the veil, like something is watching, waiting, even pressing against the atmosphere. You wake up and your spirit is stirred before your feet hit the ground. You feel the Holy Spirit hovering over decisions you haven't even made yet. Because the Lord is not just moving around you, He's moving through you. But He's waiting on your response. Not emotional reaction, not wishful thinking, not even loud declarations. He's waiting for that deep, settled yes, that silent agreement that shifts everything in the spirit before anything changes in the natural. The atmosphere is pregnant with movement, and it's not random. It's personal. You are part of the plan. You are the vessel. He's chosen to release this next sound, this next breakthrough, this next move. And the enemy is terrified of your agreement. That's why the confusion intensified. That's why the distractions multiplied. That's why the enemy has whispered lies to make you doubt your authority. Because hell trembles when the chosen ones agree with heaven. But here you are, still standing, still believing, still holding the line. That's not small, that's supernatural. As written in the book of Amos, chapter 3, verse 7, surely the sovereign Lord does nothing without revealing his plan to his servants, the prophets. And he has been revealing it bit by bit, layer by layer. In the secret place, he hasn't been silent. He's been specific. You haven't been ignored. You've been invited. Now, it's your move. You don't need the whole picture to obey. You just need enough light to take the next step. And if you're reading this, then heaven has already determined you are ready. This is your invitation to agree with the plan of God fully, with your words, with your posture, with your decisions, with your life. So let this moment be more than inspiration. Let it be activation. Heaven is watching for the sign of agreement. And no, it doesn't have to be loud or public. Sometimes the smallest act of faith in the natural opens the floodgates in the spiritual. So right here, right now, in the quiet of this moment, make a move. Comment the number 1111 below. Let it be your declaration in the face of delay, confusion, and warfare. I agree with heaven. Why 1111? Because prophetically, it represents spiritual awakening, divine alignment, and a doorway into supernatural timing. It's not just a number, it's a sign, a code in the spirit, a whisper from heaven that says, now is the time. And it's not superstition, it's symbolic, obedience, a prophetic act of agreement, something the natural mind may dismiss. But the spiritual realm always recognizes when you type it, say it, feel it, mean it. I agree with heaven. I'm 6. Because when agreement is made, acceleration begins. You are not random. You are marked. You are part of something eternal. And your alignment today echoes beyond this moment. The ripple of one obedient heart can trigger generational deliverance. The whisper of yes can shatter cycles and unlock divine timing. So don't just feel stirred, be aligned. Don't just watch the move, become the movement. And when it unfolds, and it will, you'll remember this moment, not as hype, but as heaven's signal that the time had come. The pressure was real. The tension was sacred. The weight wasn't to crush you, it was to confirm you. You are ready now. You are standing in divine alignment. You are on heaven's radar. And everything is about to shift. And when the shift comes, it will be sudden, but not surprising, because your spirit has been sensing it long before it shows up in the natural. Don't dismiss the nudges. Don't ignore the restlessness. You're not being shaken, you're being positioned. And what breaks open for you won't just bless you, it will overflow into others. This is how legacy begins. In quiet yeses, in small agreements, in moments just like this, where earth aligns with heaven and purpose collides with perfect timing. There is a moment in every chosen life when God removes the scaffolding, when the supports you leaned on, the voices you trusted, the rhythms you were used to suddenly vanish. And not because you failed, but because God is establishing your foundation deeper than before. You are no longer being held up by borrowed faith, no longer leaning on temporary structures. This is the point where heaven says, you've seen enough. Now walk in what I showed you. End quote. It's uncomfortable, isolating, even. You may look around and feel abandoned, disconnected, misunderstood. But listen closely. What you're feeling is not abandonment. It's refinement, God is not subtracting to harm you. He's subtracting to strengthen you. You've outgrown certain crutches. You've surpassed certain mindsets. You've graduated from needing permission to move. Now, it's about maturity. Heaven is calling you to walk not by feelings, not by signs, but by what you know, deep in your spirit. That's why this season feels different. It's quieter, more internal. The miracles are still there, but they're not screaming like before. Because you're no longer being trained in fire, you're being trained in faithfulness. God isn't just building your capacity, He's testing your consistency. Can you still worship when no one sees it? Can you still obey when there's no immediate breakthrough? Can you still walk in purpose when your name isn't mentioned and your phone is silent? This is the proving ground of the called, not the stage, but the silence, not the spotlight, but the shadows, not in the overflow, but in the lack, because it's in lack that your true strength is revealed, as written in the book of Habakkuk, chapter 3, verses 17 and 18. Though the fig tree does not bud, and there are no grapes on the vines, yet I will rejoice in the Lord. I will be joyful in God, my Savior. That's the posture God is looking for now. Not conditional joy, not situational praise, but unwavering resolve. A heart that says, even if nothing changes, I know who holds me. You don't need another confirmation. You are the confirmation. You don't need a sign in the sky. You are the sign. What God placed in you is not fading, it's forging. Even when you feel pressed, confused, even numb, don't assume the Spirit has left. His greatest work is often done beneath the surface, where your roots are stretching deeper, anchoring you for the weight of future glory. You are being prepared for more than breakthrough. You are being prepared for sustained authority. And authority only rests on what's been tested. That's why the warfare didn't end after your obedience. That's why the pressure didn't lift after your yes. Because you're not just stepping into a blessing, you're being entrusted with a mantle. And mantles don't rest on convenience. They rest on consistency. So, if the atmosphere around you feels dry, don't retreat. If the doors seem closed, don't panic. If the fire feels distant, don't assume something's wrong. This is the season of internal anchoring, where God is less concerned with what you do and more concerned with who you're becoming. And you, chosen one, are becoming dangerous to darkness, not because of how loud you are, but because of how steady you've become. That steadiness rooted in surrender is rare, and heaven honors it. The things you used to need to feel secure, God is weaning you off of them. The voices you used to crave for validation, He's teaching you to hear His alone. The external signs you used to depend on, He's now forming a fire within that won't flicker based on feelings. This is not distance, it's development. Don't mislabel your wilderness. It's not a detour. It's a holy training ground. The days ahead will require more than just inspiration. They will demand unshakable conviction, not stirred by applause, not swayed by silence. And that kind of conviction can only be forged in hidden places, just like the one you're in now. So don't despise it. Don't rush it. Don't wish it away. God is solidifying something in you that can't be undone by time, by pressure, or by man. When the doors reopen, and they will, you won't just be stepping into promise. You'll be stepping into it as one who cannot be moved. Because you didn't just wait. You endured. You grew. You passed the test of the quiet place. And now, you are almost ready, almost unveiled, almost positioned for the release that won't crush you, but will confirm you. There is something sacred about silence, especially when it comes after the storm. Not the silence of confusion or absence, but the kind of stillness that settles when the fight is over, and God has established something inside you that no storm can uproot. That's where you are now, not in chaos, not in noise, but in a sacred hush, a divine quiet where God is doing deep, unseen work. And even if nothing on the outside is shifting, everything inside of you has changed. This is where clarity starts to rise, not as a loud revelation, but as a quiet knowing, not as fireworks, but as foundation. You're no longer grasping for answers, you're grounded in presence, and that presence is enough. You've been through enough wilderness to know God doesn't always lead with explanation. Sometimes He leads with peace. And peace isn't the absence of problems. It's the presence of divine assurance in the midst of them. That's what's resting on you now. A confidence not born of ego, but of endurance. A weight not from burdens, but from glory. You are not the same person who entered the storm. You are refined, disciplined, rooted, ready. There's no need to chase what used to validate you. The applause, the confirmation, the clarity, they will come in time, but they are not your source. The presence of God within you is, and that's the shift. You've gone from seeking signs to becoming one. You've moved from needing constant direction to walking with spiritual precision, because once you've been in the fire and didn't burn, you stop fearing the heat. And once you've faced silence and didn't lose your voice, you stop craving noise. This is maturity, not in appearance, but in spirit, not in eloquence, but in endurance. It's the quiet confidence that comes when you've walked with God in private long enough that public validation becomes irrelevant. You no longer need to prove who you are. You just are. Anointed, sealed, established, as found in the second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 1, verse 21. Now it is God who makes both us and you stand firm in Christ. He anointed us. End. You are not fragile. You are fortified. This anointing is not emotional. It's internal. It's not loud. It's lasting. And the reason it feels weightier now is because heaven has increased your spiritual authority without requiring you to announce it. This isn't a season of performing. This is a season of possessing. Walking in what's already been spoken. Dwelling in what's already been given. There's a holy restraint that rests on those who have been with God. You don't need to over-explain, overpost, or overcompensate. Your presence alone shifts things now. Your words carry weight because your heart has been crushed and rebuilt by truth. You're no longer triggered by things that used to derail you. You're no longer discouraged by delays that used to confuse you. Because now you understand, timing isn't random. It's strategic. And God is not stalling. He's establishing. You are being preserved for impact. Not protected from pain, but preserved through it. Not shielded from testing, but strengthened by it. The kind of strength that can't be stolen, imitated, or downloaded. It only comes from the quiet crushing of obedience. That's where you've been, and that's why you're still here. Others came and went. Many fell away, but you remained. And heaven honors the ones who remain, not because they're perfect, but because they're present, still listening, still trusting, still believing even when they don't see. You may not feel explosive right now, but you are dangerously effective. You've become someone the enemy cannot intimidate anymore because you're no longer moved by surface-level attacks. You're rooted in the eternal. And when you walk with that kind of depth, you no longer beg for doors to open. You carry the keys. You don't chase platforms, you build altars. You don't echo culture, you release kingdom. And that's the difference. You've graduated from survival to significance, from desperation to discernment, from searching to standing. Now, everything you do carries weight, not because of who sees it, but because of who sent you. So rest in that. Let the silence be your confirmation. Let the stillness be your signal. You're not forgotten, you're being finalized. And what's about to emerge from this hidden place will not be hype. It will be holy. You are not on pause. You are on purpose. And when God reveals what He's been shaping in secret, no one will be able to deny it. Not because of noise, but because of the undeniable weight of what you carry. This is not just another message. This is a moment, a line in the sand, a turning of the page. Because for some of you reading this, everything in your life has been leading to this exact point of clarity, awakening, and confirmation. You're not randomly here. Heaven has navigated your steps through chaos, confusion, and contradiction to bring you face to face with the sound of your assignment. You were never meant to blend in, never meant to go unnoticed. You are not a whisper. You are a trumpet, a holy disturbance to darkness. And for too long, the enemy has tried to make you question that truth. He attacked your voice, your confidence, your mind, because he feared your impact. But look at you, still standing, still burning, still here. And not just here, but sharper, deeper, more yielded than ever before. You've been through the silence. You've survived the crushing by 2-7. You've endured the hidden season. And now, something is rising. A sound, a strength, a stillness that carries glory. It's not hype. It's not performance. It's weight. The weight of one who has walked with God when no one else was looking, as declared in the book of Psalm, chapter 68, verse 11. The Lord gave the word. Great was the company of those who proclaimed it. That's you, a voice in the company of the proclaimers, a fire in the field of the faithful. You don't need a platform to be powerful. You don't need to go viral to be valid. When God gives the word, those who carry it carry weight, not for show, but for impact. And impact starts with agreement. So if this word has pierced your spirit, if it's confirmed something you've been sensing in secret, don't scroll past it like a casual post. Like this message, not just as an online gesture, but as a prophetic act. Let your agreement be recorded. Let your spirit say, yes, I receive this. I recognize this is for me. And comment below, even if it's just one word, one declaration, one cry. Why? Because expression seals revelation. There is something powerful about speaking into what the Spirit is stirring. It's not for show, it's for alignment. And if you know someone who's been battling confusion, delay, discouragement, share this. Let your obedience become someone else's confirmation. The enemy thrives in isolation, but freedom flows through shared truth. Don't underestimate the ripple effect of one act of obedience. Subscribe if you haven't already. Not to support a brand, but to stay connected to a prophetic well. This is a place for the remnant, for the burning ones, for those who don't need polished words, but pure fire. If you know you've found your tribe, don't wander. Stay near the sound. And if this message has consistently fed you, sharpened you, woken something up in you, pray about sowing, not out of pressure, out of principle. When the Lord sends a stream that nourishes your spirit, there is power in honoring that stream. You're not just giving to a voice, you're partnering with a movement. Some of you have been fed week after week, word after word. And this isn't about paying for a blessing. It's about saying, this soil has changed me. I want to help it reach more ground. Whether it's a one-time gift or consistent support, it's not just financial. It's spiritual. It's fuel for the fire that's awakening thousands. It's how revival spreads not through hype, but through sacrifice. And if you're not able to give, your intercession is just as vital. Cover this space in prayer. Ask God to protect the purity, expand the reach, and shake the sleeping through every word spoken. Because this isn't a brand, it's a battle station. Every message is a strike against apathy. Every video, every post, every whisper of truth is a direct blow to hell's agenda. And we're not stopping. Not until the hidden ones rise. Not until the altars are rebuilt. Not until the flame in you becomes a wildfire in others. You're not a spectator. You are part of this, a torchbearer, a co-laborer, a voice that heaven trusts to echo the sound of the Spirit in this generation. So rise with boldness, share with conviction, give with faith, comment with clarity, subscribe with expectation, and walk like you've heard the word, because you have. The shaking wasn't to kill you, it was to wake you. The fire wasn't to burn you, it was to brand you. And now, what's been formed in the secret place is about to roar in public space. You are not one of many. You are one of the few. You are God's chosen one. And you were born for this exact hour. There is a moment when the oil stops flowing from the familiar, when the places that once filled you now feel empty, the rhythms that used to refresh you feel stale, and you begin to sense the grace has lifted from what used to work. This is not failure. It is a divine shift. The Spirit of God leads His chosen ones through seasons of saturation and then separation. He lets you taste the wells of comfort, only to call you into deeper places where dependence becomes your only survival. You're not being punished. You're being pulled forward. Everything in you that longs for predictability is being interrupted, not by chaos, but by calling, because God doesn't just call you out of comfort, He calls you into confrontation, not with people, but with patterns, old habits, hidden fears, deep-rooted doubt. And He does it in the wilderness, in the place where no applause echoes, where no platform stands, where only your real voice remains. That's where identity is clarified, not by what you do, but by who you remain when everything else is stripped away. You don't discover your anointing in the spotlight. You discover it in the wrestle. The wilderness is holy ground, a place where manna teaches you how to rely, where delay teaches you how to discern, where silence teaches you how to listen. You're not stuck. You're being separated, set apart from what's shallow, weaned off of what's loud, broken free from what's hollow. And yes, it's uncomfortable. But that's how holy things are born, in the stretching, in the shaking, in the solitude. As spoken in the book of Hosea, chapter 2, verse 14. Therefore, I am now going to allure her. I will lead her into the wilderness and speak tenderly to her. He doesn't drive you into the desert to destroy you. He draws you there to speak to you in ways that could never be heard in crowded places. The noise around you has been turned down so you can finally hear the whisper that changes everything. And what he's saying in this hour is not surface level. He's not just giving you slogans. He's reshaping your spirit, confronting the agreements you made with fear, interrupting the cycles you settled into, calling out the courage you buried just to survive. This wilderness is not a punishment, it's a proving, a forging, a sanctification. He's not just bringing you out of something, he's bringing you into someone, the version of yourself that is no longer moved by opinion, no longer controlled by pressure, no longer intoxicated by applause, the version that walks in clarity, even when blind, that obeys in weakness, that speaks with fire even when the room is cold, that refuses to blend in, even if it means walking alone. And yes, sometimes the hardest obedience is staying put when your flesh wants to run, sitting in the quiet when your ego wants noise, trusting when the outcome isn't visible. But that's where real power is formed. You were never called to be convenient. You were called to be consecrated. This season is burning away everything that cannot sustain glory. Every insecurity disguised as humility. Every attachment disguised as loyalty. Every distraction dressed up as opportunity. And when the smoke clears, only what is eternal will remain. You'll rise, not as the version others expected, but as the one heaven authored, not polished by performance, but purified by presence, not propped up by popularity, but planted by truth. This is the generation of the hidden ones, the forged ones, the wilderness-baptized ones, those who heard God in the drought, believed Him in the delay, and obeyed Him in the dark. You are among them, and soon, what has been private refinement will become public weight, not because you chased recognition, but because you carried responsibility when no one else could see it. And when that moment comes, it won't feel sudden. It will feel like the fulfillment of everything your spirit already knew, but your eyes couldn't see. That's what this season has been for, to make you fireproof, to make you falsehood resistant, to make you ready. Don't rush out of the wilderness. Receive what it's been sent to reveal, because the next move of God in your life won't rest on charisma, it will rest on character. And the kind of character that carries revival is not mass-produced. It's handcrafted in sacred places, formed in hidden caves, stamped with weight, not hype, rooted in trust, not trends. You are being shaped for something that platforms cannot sustain, something only purity can hold. And the ones who endure this season won't just walk into promise, they will become the keepers of it. There comes a point in every chosen one's journey where you stop asking, "When will it happen?" and begin to ask, "How can I be trusted with it when it does?" That's not fear. That's reverence. That's the beginning of kingdom maturity. You're no longer chasing moments, you're preparing to steward movements. You're no longer desperate for stages, you're cultivating the integrity that sustains weight when heaven opens a door. This is what the refining has produced in you: depth, quiet authority, heaven-trusted discernment. Because God doesn't just anoint the gifted, He anoints the prepared. And preparation often looks like being overlooked. You've walked through long seasons where it seemed like no one noticed your obedience, where the doors didn't open, where the words you carried stayed hidden inside you, where every yes you gave God was answered by silence in return. But silence is not a dismissal, it's a forging. In the quiet, you didn't quit. In the drought, you didn't compromise. In the pressure, you didn't escape. You chose the path of the faithful over the path of the flashy. And now, God is about to make that private consecration public commissioning. He's not raising up performers. He's raising up pillars. Those who don't just carry anointing, they carry responsibility. Those who don't just speak truth, they live it. Those who don't just start well, they finish strong. And that's who you're becoming. That's why the warfare has been intense. That's why the isolation felt endless. Because you were never being buried, you were being rooted. As written in the book of Colossians, chapter 2, verse 7, let your roots grow down into him, and let your lives be built on him. Then your faith will grow strong. That's the kind of strength you now carry. Quiet but unshakable. Deep but unmovable. The kind that doesn't sway with seasons or collapse under criticism. You've been anchored in truth. Not trends. Presence. Not performance. You don't need a viral moment to validate your calling. You've been validated by fire. And fire doesn't flatter, it forges. Now you carry what many desire but few are willing to die for. Authority that has been tested, not borrowed, not mimicked, but birthed. You have authority over what you've survived. And you've survived enough to know you are no longer at the mercy of the enemy's threats. You've crossed into a realm of clarity that no lie can pierce, into a stability that no storm can shake, into a purpose that no delay can undo. You've been made ready, not in perfection, but in posture, not in having it all together, but in being willing to surrender again and again. You've chosen the narrow way, and yes, it's costly, but what's waiting on the other side is not just promise, it's prophetic purpose. God didn't allow you to walk through the pain for pity. He allowed it so that when you speak, others will hear resurrection in your voice. They'll hear freedom in your tone. They'll feel heaven in your presence. Not because you're trying to be anything, just because you carry what cannot be counterfeited. That's what sets you apart. Not the volume of your voice, but the weight of what you've endured. And now, the weight becomes a mantle. You are stepping into a moment you didn't manufacture, but you were made for. And when you arrive, there will be no striving, no convincing, no proving, only walking confidently, quietly, boldly in what God has already spoken. Because heaven doesn't need hype to move. It moves on alignment, and you are aligned. You are ready. You are released. When the world sees you next, they won't recognize the version of you that's emerging, because this is not who you were. This is who you've been becoming all along. Not an echo, but a voice. Not a shadow, but a flame. Not a survivor, but a sent one. So, step forward, not with arrogance, but with authority, not for applause, but for assignment, not for recognition, but for revelation. This is the fulfillment of the secret place, the reward of obedience in obscurity, the moment where hidden oil becomes visible fire, where the closed-door seasons turn into corridors of influence you never asked for but heaven prepared for you anyway. You are no longer waiting. You are walking. And everything around you is about to feel the tremor of one who has been with God and dares to move forward, carrying the sound of glory. And nothing will ever be the same again, because once glory rests on you, even silence carries the weight of heaven's voice. Chosen one, if you made it this far, it's not by chance. Heaven has been weaving your path thread by thread into a moment like this. Every word you've just read was confirmation, not for your comfort, but for your commissioning. You've crossed a threshold. You've walked through the fire, and now you stand as one marked, molded, and ready. You're not alone. You are part of a rising remnant, a company of voices, carriers of fire, vessels of purity. And what's coming next demands unity, strength, and clarity. So if this message resonated, don't just let it pass. Respond. Make your agreement visible. Like this message as a prophetic act. Let it be your silent Amen. Your public seal on a private encounter. Comment below. Speak what this stirred in you. Even a single word carries weight when it's born from the Spirit. Your comment might just be someone else's confirmation. Share this with one person you know is in a hidden season. Someone who's been carrying silently, wrestling privately, and needs to be reminded they're not forgotten. Your obedience to share could be their breakthrough. Subscribe if you haven't yet. Not just to follow content, but to stay connected to a well that speaks directly to your calling, your clarity, and your consecration. There are more messages coming sharp, specific, soaked in glory, and you don't want to miss them. And if this word has blessed you deeply, consider sowing into it. Not because you're buying anything, but because what feeds you. You honor. Your seed helps us keep pouring living water into dry places, awakening the called, and strengthening the chosen. This is not an ending. This is a signal. You're ready. We're with you, and heaven is moving.